No,
Check at my time.
looking at Apple time.
Were you at subcommittee
I
meeting
don't
2
think
weeks
it,
ago?
yeah, it's Friday.
I don't trust it anymore since Neri worked on it.
You were there, which is,
That's why I asked. I don't remember seeing it. I came in late.
I try and
It's
hide.
not the norm. Is that what you're going to say?
Well, I don't think I was going to use that word, those words, but that was,
Roy, are you going to the chamber banquets?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
are you?
Head table, baby.
Spent the entire day at my house in utter misery, and the rest of the day in the doctor's office in even worse misery, and you really think I'm going to the chamber banquet? Well, at the same time, if I was feeling the best I'd ever felt in my life, why did you ask me that question?
I figured you were sitting up there next to the president.
If you can't get help from Charter, Paul, get help somewhere.
I'd like to call this January meeting of the Maumelle Planning Commission to order. Mr. Neri, we have any announcements?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. One, obviously, since you have the con in the helm, Chairman Fisher will not be with us this evening. I also know that some of you are going to attend the Maumelle Chamber Banquet, which I think is just underway as we speak. So let's try to move along if we can, Mr. Chairman.
First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the December 15th, 2016 meeting. All commissioners have copies. Do we have any changes?
To approve the minutes as
Uh,
submitted.
Second that motion, Mr. Chair.
Motion is second. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed say no. We have no non-agenda items. I'd like to open the public hearing at this time. We have no old business, new business. First item on the attendance agenda is a request for variance. Mr. Neri?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request for variance on an item that this commission has seen many times over the years. Some type of structure or a portion of a structure compromising a public right-of-way or an easement, specifically Section 70-133B. In this case, the applicant is a Mr. Chad Dersham at 154 Lilly. You can see maps from the utility company showing no utilities in this easement that he's compromising with a portion of his home. You also have an agreement from Mike Hogan, the acting public works director, that he has no problem with it either. During the subcommittee meeting, it was noticed by Chairman Fisher that the accessory structure storehouse towards the rear of the property actually compromised an easement as well. We asked Mr. Dersham to move it. He had it moved. 2 days ago, myself and Don Harbor from Code Enforcement visited the property with a tape measure and plot plan. It is, in fact, in compliance now. And to Mr. Dersham's credit, who is not here this evening, he's been represented by Andrew Pownell of Thomas Engineers. It was in such bad shape, he told me, he said, once I saw what it looked like after the guys moved it, I'm just going to have it hauled out of there. So I said, well, had I known that, I'm pretty sure the commission would have cut you a break on moving it. But be that as it may, it's not going to be there very much longer in any case. So Mr. Pownell is here this evening if you have any questions of him.
Thank you, Mr. Neri. Any commissioners have questions of staff or the applicant's representative? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the request for variance regarding Section 7133 for easements in public right-of-way. Mr. Chad Dershman, applicant, pending any other commissioner or staff comments.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed, say no. Next item, Mr. Neary, the proposed amendment to the Maumelle Master Land Use Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to take both of these together. Of course, you all will vote on them separately, but I'll do a description of both together. This is an interesting case. The Maumelle Master Zoning Map and Master Land Use Map were adopted in 1987. At that time, this small swath of property, just over 2 acres, was zoned commercial, C1, Village Center. It's been a lot of things over the years. The U.S. Army used to own it. It was the location of a guard shack. It's been offices for quiet businesses such as accountants. I think Mr. Holloway's father actually had an office there at one time. Well, for whatever reason, over the years, this property, though zoned commercial, was being used for residential purposes with actual people living in what amounts to multifamily style housing. Ms. Terry Studdard is the new owner of this property, and in an effort to make things right, she may want to do some renovation, pull some major permits, and we had the conversation that once you do that, you're going to be flagged to my office anyway. So in an effort to clean that up, Ms. Studdard is requesting a land use change, obviously to special use residential, and she's requesting a zoning change to planned residential district. Staff is going to recommend for both of these items for a do-pass recommendation to the Maumelle City Council.
Thank you, Mr. Neary. Any commissioners have questions of the applicant or staff?
Where is, excuse me, ma'am, where is this current city limit line regarding this?
That's your railroad tracks.
It's the railroad
It
tracks?
is the railroad tracks.
Okay. Mr. Holloway had indicated at the subcommittee meeting that there was no, at the time, he had not researched any dedicated right-of-way regarding the street.
Nor could staff find any.
Okay, so you researched it as well, too. Any interest in any dedication for the plat, or where we could stand on that?
Well, Ms. Studdard and Mr. Holloway and the mayor and I have all had this conversation. Ms. Studdard she could split that lot if she wanted to, and then she's looking at a considerable expense. Dedication of right-of-way, building street to a Maumelle City standard, at least half street improvements. So all she's interested in doing tonight is heading down the road to clean this up.
Okay. I don't know that we would have any legal right to request her to do it
I think we do. Yes.
when the time comes.
Yes. In fact,
depending on
I'm
what the
sure
law
of it.
is. Okay, very good. And in your opinion, it's not necessary, or you'd incorporated it with the plat
No,
at this time?
no. There is no plat per se.
Fair enough.
It's simply a survey in regard to the submittal requirements for a rezoning.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions of the commission? Is there anyone in the audience wish to speak on this matter? Okay. The proposed amendment for the zoning,
Take the land use first, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Land use plan, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the proposed amendment to the Maumelle Master Land Use Plan from commercial to special use residential. Ms. Terry Studdard applicant, subject to any further commissioner or staff comments.
And
This
that's a
is this.
recommendation do pass.
Do pass recommendation, yes.
Have a second? Have a recommendation for a do pass and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed say no. Okay, next item, I entertain a motion on the change in the master zoning map. Recommendation to council.
Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend a do pass to council for the proposed amendment of the master zoning map to a PRD, pending any commissioner comments.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. We do have a do pass going from C1 to PRD. Any discussion on that motion?
I did have another question. It
Sure.
snuck by me, and I should have asked this earlier, Mr. Neary. It doesn't really have a bearing. This encroachment that's shown on the lot, is that not from the city?
Yes.
Any discussion regarding that?
No.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed, say no. Okay. The item moves on to City Council on what day will they meet? Mr. Mayor?
February the 6th, Monday, and Ms. Studdard, you need to be there. That's at 6 o'clock, Monday, February the 6th, right here.
Thank you. And you don't have to stay if you don't want to.
Thank you for coming, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a preliminary plat for Lot 2R, Maumelle Public Library Addition. Mr. Neri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was discovered during the expansion of the library's parking lot that this small swath of land that you see on the preliminary plat had never actually been platted. The charter school did not buy that from the library when they were purchasing some of this property. It was actually brought to the mayor's attention, so he wanted this cleaned up. That is why this is being platted. It's also with a 60-foot right-of-way to accommodate the collector class road that the city will ultimately build in this area. Staff has no comments, and you should have received an email from me forwarding it from Mr. Mazan that he has no comments either. So pending any commissioner comments, staff will recommend for contingent approval.
Any questions of staff by the commission? Any question of the applicant? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the preliminary plat for Lot 2R, Maumelle Public Library Edition, subject to Commissioner staff comments.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed, say no. Okay, item passes. Thank you, gentlemen. On the preliminary plat, that stays with us, so
That does stay with the commission. Their next order of action will be to submit a final plat, which will come to my desk.
okay. Next item on the agenda is the revised preliminary development plan, Track D, Lot 5R. Mr. Neri?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This came about because the Sonic people wanted to move that building 9 feet to the east, closer to Maumelle Boulevard, to allow for a little bit more playground land, maybe take some pressure off the sidewalk system that they'd incorporated. After 2 staff reviews, staff nor Mr. Mazan has any further comments, so this is also a recommendation to the Maumelle City Council. Staff will recommend for a due pass to the Maumelle City Council.
Thank you, Mr. Neri.
Mr. Chairman, I need to recuse myself from number 5 and 6.
Thank you, sir. Any commissioner questions of staff or the applicants?
Is the applicant on hold with his ongoing construction while this issue is resolved?
Yes. Yes, they are.
Yep.
Applicant, you want to say anything? You don't have to. Okay, smart man. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the revised preliminary development plan for Track D, Lot 5R for DL Rogers Corporation.
That's recommend for due pass.
Recommend due pass. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. We recommend a due pass to the city council for the development plan, Track D, Lot 5R. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed, say no. Item passes. And this will be also in February, Mr. Neri?
That's correct.
Okay, revised landscape plan, Track D, Lot 5R. Mr. Neri?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item stays with you, the commission. After 2 staff reviews, approve as submitted.
Thank you, Mr. Neri. Any commissioner comments of staff or applicant? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to revise the landscape plan for Track D, Lot 5R for DL Rogers Corporation, Sonic.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed, say no. Okay, that takes care of that. At this time, I'd like to convene the Board of Zoning Adjustment. Y'all change your hats. We have a request for variance regarding Section 94-374, bulk area regulations. Mr. Neri?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is E&L Property Management, which is Mr. and Mrs. Lori and Eric Holloway, actually. It's in regard to their property that they propose to construct a mini-storage on. In a C3 zoning district, which is service commercial, maximum lot coverage is 35%. Mr. Holloway has done some due diligence and researched what other cities close to us allow. At Little Rock, you can go all the way to the property line. North Little Rock, I believe, is 50%. There's a need, and staff never makes a recommendation on these variance requests. That's up to you all as the commission, or in this case, the Board of Zoning Adjustment. I do know this, that when you're talking about a mini storage, as you all know too, every inch that you can possibly squeeze is more revenue for the owner. So I don't think this request is actually out of line, and I think Mr. Holloway is actually requesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, sir, 46% as opposed to 35%. This request will stay with you.
Thank you, Mr. Neri. Any commissioners have any questions of staff on this? The applicant? If no questions, we'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the request for the variance regarding section 94-374 to allow up to 46% lot coverage.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. We approve the request. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed, say no. Okay. At this time, I'd like to put my planning commission hat back on. Reconvening the planning commission. First item on the agenda is a preliminary plat for Lot 1A. Mr. Neri?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the preliminary plat for the proposed location of the mini storage. After two staff reviews, and probably more than that if you count Fire Marshal Payne's reviews, which I think was probably the biggest sticking point Mr. Holloway had in coming to the commission. But as you can see by the emails that are included and that I sent you, that has all been worked out. Pending any commissioner comments, staff is going to recommend for a contingent approval. Mr. Rahman has also seen this, and he's okay with it to the construction phase.
Any commissioners have any questions of staff on the preliminary plat for Lot 1A? Mr. Holloway, you have anything to say? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion for approval of the preliminary plat for Lot 1A, pending any other staff or commissioner comments.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. We approve the preliminary plat, Lot 1A addition, EL Property Management. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed say no. Preliminary plat passes. Site plan, Mr. Neri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Same situation, contingent upon any commissioner comments, staff will recommend for approval.
Any commissioner comments on the site plan?
Move to approve the site plan for Lot 1E, for Lot 1 E&L addition, subject to any further commissioner comments.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we approve the site plan for Lot 1E, Lot 1A E&L addition.
It's actually Lot 1, Mr. Chairman.
Is it lot, yeah, okay, that's right, the phasing. Lot 1, excuse me. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed say no. Landscape plan, Mr. Neri.
Approve as resubmitted.
Any commissioners have questions of staff or applicant? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the landscape plan for Lot 1 E and L addition.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed say no. Commercial building design, Mr. Neri.
Approve as resubmitted.
Any commissioners have questions? I have a statement. For a storage facility, this thing's going to look very nice. Of course,
That he's going to office out of it, perhaps.
Well, actually,
The owner
Commissioner
thinks-
Johnson, you're not too far from the truth. It's now going to be Holloway Engineers and mini storage. So Mrs. Arps will be answering this phone this way, this phone that way.
okay. I did get a motion and a second on
I
that.
make a motion to approve the commercial building design for Lot 1 as submitted, pending any other commissioner or staff comments.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the commercial building design. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed say no. Next item on the agenda is the revised preliminary plat for Natural Trail Estates. Mr. Neri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you all probably will remember this. This actually came to you in slightly different form about 15 or 16 months ago. At that point, it was called Haas Heights. Now, the name is Natural Trail Estates, less lots, bigger lots. Staff comments have been satisfied. About 25 minutes ago, Mr. Holloway and I both were in on a telephone call to Mr. Rahman, and he's blessed it to the construction stage. Staff is going to recommend for contingent approval.
Thank you, Mr. Neri. Before that, commissioners have questions on this, I have one public comment card. Mr. Tommy Wright, would you like to speak?
Tommy Wright, number 1 Club Circle. First of all, I want to say I'm not here to talk against David's project because I know what he's up against down there and he needs to get going on it. Anyway, I'm just going to give you a little history of where we own the property, the 80 acres next to David, and we've owned it since 2006. And then we started preparing drawings for different lot layouts, hired a wetland consultant to advise us with wetland issues in 2007. We've been delayed so many times buying on and off of the crossing of the wetlands over towards the high school and the city getting approval from the Corps of Engineers. This is pertinent because it was coming down through our property at that time from Carnahan through this area. We brought a preliminary plat in February of 2014 to this planning commission subdivision committee, and because of the Corps of Engineers and what's been going on with the wetland issue for the past several years, we thought that our wetland consultant had got approval for when we brought it to y'all from the Corps. They had just came up with it, and then they moved to Utah or someplace. It was Richardson's son-in-law, and kind of forgot to give it to the Corps. So when we brought it to y'all, there was one little area in there that was iffy. Didn't know whether it was a dry stream that just got wet when it rained. And he was thinking it might be wetlands. And of course, since then, the EPA and the Corps has designed a new plan, Waters of the U.S., which was put on hold this last year because 20 states filed suit against them, and the courts put all that on hold, and that's where we're at today. And by the way, our Attorney General was part of that, part of the 20, which stopped it, and a lot of it is not very good for development at all. It's not very good for anybody to speak of, but a stream that only has a little bit of water in it right after it rains is not navigable, and Waters of the U.S. is supposed to be navigable. Anyway, we don't get into all that, but as of today, we have no lots left in Country Club of Arkansas because after November, we sold them all. And so we're in dire need. That's why I brought the Phase 25A to y'all recently for approval, because it didn't have any wetland issues on it, is why we did that. And when we brought the plan back in 2014 of the whole subdivision, we had it shown connecting to David's project with his approval at that time. And since then, something's changed his mind, and he opted not to tie into it, which is right. But we felt at that time that it would be beneficial for that whole area, which if there's not a connection from this particular subdivision to Count Massey Road, we got another big traffic issue again, which I don't think any of us want that, because that'll be 300 and something lots that are going to have to go back to Country Club Parkway, come back around on Diamond Park, back on to Count Massey to get out to the new interchange when it gets built. Soon, we hope. But anyway, it'll be through 3 phases, which be 20 and 23 and this new phase, which is about 120 lots. These 120 lots, in there we've got about 20 that are 100-foot wide executive lots, which will be big homes. Maumelle has no more big estate lots. Lynn Dickey sold out. There ain't no more except on top of the hill up there on Manitou, I think, is the only executive large lots there are left. So we're in need of, he's developing the large lots, which are great. We were developing large lots that tied into him, and I think it was a plus because they would both feed each other with builders and such. Anyway, we're still in discussions with other people, which I understand that someone, I don't know, it may have been you, Mr. Neri, that had talked about this Natural Trails Road with somebody. And we have, since then, I haven't talked to these people, which they're here tonight, about, different ways to get a different avenue through. So far, I don't have any current plan that will work for everybody. We're still in negotiations, but I feel that this commission and the city needs to help us. It's not like we've only developed 1,600 lots down there, and we've left excesses to empty land on every subdivision. And we feel like what's good for us should be good for other developers. So that's the only reason why I'm here, is to make sure that we don't have a traffic problem, and to get your help, this commission and in the city, on trying to come up with a plan to let people have access, decent access, not have to drive 3/4 of a mile to get back around to Count Massey Road, which, is going to be a major thoroughfare. And these people have no way to get there except going all the way around. So, I don't know really what y'all can do. I'm asking for help, period, on from anybody. If they got any comments, how we can help, I would sure be. I didn't make the subdivision meeting because I had the crap that Nary's got. And
Gave it to me.
I wouldn't get that close to you. But anyway, I believe there's a solution to the problem. I just think we all need to work together. And, I don't want to repeat again that I do not want to hold up David's project for any reason. But anyway, that's my comments. Got any questions for me? I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Wright?
Tommy, I don't remember, I don't ever remember, it's been 2-3 years. Heck, now, what, you say 14? So
2014, yes.
yeah. Did you propose a collector at this location where
Yes,
Dr. Haas has his? So you had a collector coming through that property over to Counts Massey? Well, I believe you don't have to get it out. I'm just asking.
Well, originally we had there was an arterial going past between these two subdivisions.
But that was Country Club Parkway though, right?
That was Country Club Parkway, which has been renamed to Milliken because
That's
nobody
paper
could
headed.
find it.
She's gonna turn your mic on, Tommy.
I turned it off. Thank you. But since then, all the residents wouldn't, since all these roads are not coming from the high school through there, they like the road to be a little smaller, which, that was in North Little Rock, and they went along with that. So now it's just a regular road. But it was going to go south towards Count Massey. There's a homeowner down there. I forget her name. I got it down here somewhere. Somebody probably remember.
There's 5 homeowners back there.
Yeah. Well, the one that's coming from our subdivision's over in the corner.
Schwartz?
Well, there's
What is
Snyder.
Snyder. Anyway, she is 25 foot from the road, and I don't think the mayor wants to push the issue of trying to get rid of that house and get her moved so that road can go on to Count Massey. That's one thing that could be done, but those people aren't wanting to move. There's other avenues that I've talked to him today about, but Jim Balch is out of town. Be back Monday, and he's got a couple ideas. We've got a couple ideas. It's going through 2 or 3 homeowners, and we'll have to get their approval. But as far as our original plat that where we had the 120 lots, it was tied in right there on the top of that cul-de-sac to our subdivision. And there were some drawings made with his subdivision going on up in there and tying in, but now he just made a cul-de-sac. So, I just feel like as developers, we all have to work together. And if I have to leave a road out to a piece of empty property that I don't own, and y'all tell me to, that's what I do. And I have to do it because you told me to. But anyway, I just feel like what's good for one developer is good for others, and especially if it's getting the traffic where it needs to go.
Do you have those lots fronted on that collector?
Yeah, but yes, I do.
Or you did? Or
I did, yes. But since we didn't have any houses built on it, we couldn't come out on that arterial. We had a road in behind them, but since it got down to a smaller size now, they can enter from the front
Well, look at this property. If we'd put the required collector right-of-way in your designation, I don't know how developable those lots become.
Which lots?
The lots that Dr. Haas has submitted.
Mr. Chairman,
Well, I don't know about
excuse me,
that.
Mr. Wright.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
Sure.
Commissioner. If I may interject something. I work every day, and sometimes with some type of proposed amendment to the master street plan. That's what I do. I've been doing it for 20 years at Pulaski County and here at Maumelle. Big part of my job, as you all well know. I am always willing, as I always have been, to meet with citizen groups, to meet with governmental bodies of the cities, developers, project teams, whoever, for ideas about the master street plan. And as you well know, there's a process for this. You come up with a plan, it's submitted to you all to make a recommendation then to the city council, and ultimately the city council makes that decision. But I'm always available to listen to anything and everything regarding ideas on amendments to the master street plan. That's not a problem.
Thank you, Mr. Neri. Any other?
Where I was going with my comment is that if Dr. Haas currently does not have this plan, but if he takes a collector through there, it changes the
Entire
the
subdivision.
marketing landscape of what he's trying to accomplish. So I don't know if it's necessarily in his, he can speak for himself, he's here, of his financial interest. Obviously, he's decided not to do that.
Yeah, and that, what I talked to Mr. Haas about was that we're developers, we're builders. I've got 6 builders coming in there that's ready to build big houses. And they feed each other just like restaurants feed each other. And I think that his project would sell better tying this road in. He doesn't, but I do. And quite frankly, I think I know a little bit more about it than him or you, quite frankly.
Appreciate your sentiments.
Yeah.
Mr. Neri, is there the master street plan?
Yes.
Is there?
No.
Okay.
We
Nothing
actually
through this
amended-
area.
Amended it actually to terminate next to the well.
Okay.
Over the years, there was one street that came down a long time ago from the other side of the bayou. It was on a master street plan.
Not anymore.
Yeah, I realized that after looking at it today, but couldn't have built a bridge probably anyway. But there was an old bridge back 100 years ago right in that same area that a guy told me about, and we bought some land from him. He said that's how they got across the bayou, was over a wooden bridge, right where that road was. So I'm not so sure that sometimes those old roads, because for egress anyway, couldn't be, they had to stay if they'd been there that long. But y'all took it out, but
Any other questions of Mr. Wright?
No.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Thank you.
Any questions of staff or applicant?
I'm sorry, the what? Does that matter? Oh, do I need to, I wanted to order. Did you want? Go ahead.
I got a question of the applicant.
Yes, sir. Oh,
That
pardon me.
at any time, I mean, were y'all contacted about making a road through there? Would you state your name and address for the?
David Haas, 128 South Shore Drive. I don't know if I was contacted about making a road. I had presented a plat about 16 months ago. Mr. Neri said it was a little different design because I had all residential lots coming up and starting in from around upper closer to where an actual trail was coming in. And So, and we've been trying to get sewer, water, all that to the property for, now I've owned the property 10 years at least. So I guess I developed that plan, and during that plan, I put an extension out there to the end, and we can talk about a lot of stuff, but he's got 80 acres, and I've allowed them, of course, to clear the land, come through my land, and we Tommy and I, we all get along okay. But on the other hand, we've got a bunch of new lots coming up higher than me that are smaller lots. I think he told me today, but we want us to do it, but I feel it's going to be at least 2 years before they would develop that land, 80 acres next to me. So if I'm going to market, I don't want to sit on a bunch of lots. I've got some I built in 8 years ago, 2008, over in 74 of them back in North Little Rock, and I still got 16 that I hadn't sold. And we don't have a great absorption rate here in Maumelle of new homes and new houses. And I was told, and I had a lot of developers just want to have real small cookie cutter lots, sell them cheaper, smaller houses. But personally, I've kind of got attached to that property. It was an equestrian center. Mr. Al Donahue, this gentleman here with white hair, we worked on that thing. I've learned to ride horses and build fences, and we cut and we tried to make it go. I went through 4 or 5 managers trying to make the equestrian center work to help with kids. I'm a child psychiatrist and do adult psychiatry and aging medicine, but I enjoy nature. It's a beautiful piece of property, and the thing that I have here is that, and I've called just Sam 2 or 3 times, but we have all kind of theft comes back behind us. I got 4-wheelers coming from that left side there. Everything in my barn was stolen. So, now I've been in a project. I just have to come to grips with it. I got to develop it. And so for me, this way, I'm creating a natural trail for the tenants who want to come in, that they can walk around the wetlands. I got beautiful wetlands there and all that land. And so if they buy a lot, I've got 23 lots, it's going to be a little more of a community that's going to be, I feel, safe. Than if I open up a road and nothing's going to happen in 2 years. We have 4-wheelers, the cops can't catch them. They put their fingers up at the cops, they run through. And I'm just, sick of that kind of stuff. And personally, I don't want to buy. I'm going to build on that lower right lot. My wife and I, we're planning to do that, is that we would like to have one road in, one road out, and be able to control any kind of theft and help people that want to buy in my area feel safer than what they have at this time, because people in that area have had a lot of theft. So again, I don't want to wait 2 years out for me to start developing, and then of course we're throwing another 100 lots on the market. So I had a unique kind of a different what I call product that I think wouldn't compete so much with Tommy. It's going to help the community, that maybe it's going to meet the needs of the community. So that's kind of where I am, why I changed it up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Haas. I have another public comment card. Kelly, the last name,
It's Fields.
Okay.
do you want to speak?
Well,
I mean, if you do, come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record, please.
hi, I'm Kelly.
And your address, please?
10020 Natural Trail.
And you can pull that down.
Thank you. Y'all should do the same because we can barely hear. Anyways, we've owned the property that everyone's speaking about. My mother, also Raina Balch, and 2 other property owners, which has only been 5 in that whole area for 30 plus years, off Counts Massey Road, which no one knows life exists past the ballpark now, and Jump Zone and Maumelle Gymnastics. It's atrocious when you have cars and people that come down there in excessive speeds that you don't know if you're on North Little Rock or if you're in Maumelle or where you're at. I've had an experience to call 911 on a circumstances of anyways, I've been like, do you know where you live? Obviously, I don't, but I do. Point being, we've lived out there, owned our property, born and raised. Again, it's just a shame that it's all being excavated, renovated, and want to build and open up everything when it's secluded. My parents have worked hard to get what they have, and so has all the other neighbors that are included. Snyder, Balch, Fields, Mr. Donahue. We all own our property. There was no trespassing. There was no robbery, breaking and entering. Anyways, we love it, want it to remain that way, kind of, but now the development of things are kind of outlandish. But, of course, everybody wants to make, a profit on things, but no one's ever approached our family and go, hey, they don't realize life exists past that part. So, in the meantime, the development's being done, but we still have to drive down a pothole-filled road, dump trucks, and strangers that don't know where they're going. It is one way in, one way out, which has remained that way since 1982, since we moved out there. It's beautiful. We love our place. We own the place. Want to keep it that way, but obviously that doesn't matter. It's going to change either way. I don't know. It's just kind of disheartening of everything. In the wetlands, you don't need a creek or a stream. When it rains, you have a pond. You can get your rowboat. But it's just very unfortunate of all the things that are happening. There are other avenues or routes you could take to get around to make everyone accessible to different areas. Maumelle is one way in, one way out, besides Morgan now. And now you have Counts Massey Road, which has been Counts Massey Road for 1970 and then some. But no one knew life exists past then. But anyways, there are families and households that own their own properties and land and lots of acreage that are very valuable, obviously, now. But no one's, I don't know, you can't buy things that are sacred and are owned and are valuable. So anyways, there are a lot of other issues, but I won't get into that right now. But it's just kind of, no one's approached us. I was speaking for my family, but I've even played patrol going, what, do y'all know where you're going? What are you doing? And speaking of development, I had a call last Friday night because I almost hit a bulldozer on the White Oak Equestrian Center property because it's on the road, no street lights, no nothing. Called Mobley. Don't expect a bulldozer to pull into a bulldozer. I'm coming around to go to my property or our property on a private driveway. There are lots of things. I can go in many different directions, but we're very proud, very fortunate where we have what we do have with property and land. Development does need to be done, whether it's through our property or the bayou, which will never cease. It's going to continue to get bigger whether it rains or not. It's not a creek. It's not a stream. It's a lake when it rains. But again, no one knows that past Jump Zone or Mama Gymnastics, Connie Rayleigh's. Again, when I pass that intersection, it's a wreck and a tragic accident waiting to happen. There's no stop signs, Jump Zone or Connie Rayleigh's. They're at the ballpark. No one stops. They all think, or people assume you're going to go one way or another. No one thinks you're going to go straight because no one knows life exists past those intersections and pavements.
Yes, ma'am. I understand the traffic issues. People drive different than they used to.
Sure, don't we all? But
okay, so basically you're against the development.
I'm not against the development. It's just the development's happening, regardless if I'm against it or not.
And I understand, and I'm one of these people that I did know life was past the ball field because
Oh, yay.
I worked out here in the 80s, and I've probably been in everybody's house on Natural Trail if they had a telephone.
Oh, well, there's only 2 back there.
Yeah. In the
And we
Snyder.
still have a landline.
I did that, and so I remember when it was all gravel past Collier. So anyway, somebody does remember, and I'm sorry for your inconvenience, and I do appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Eric Holloway, 200 Casey Drive. I guess I'm a little bit between a rock and a hard place at the moment, but I guess I'll give Mr. Wright a hug after the meeting. But a couple things that I want to, I think that'll be useful for you to know that I think are worth me pointing out, and I won't take very much time. The connection at Natural Trail at Count Massey, the city in its current bond project has put a 4-way spur there, so that's, as you can tell, it just makes sense for that to be the intersection that for the future there. We have a lot of time. The interchange is probably 3 to 4 years out before there's actually going to be any pressure to have a connection through here. Mr. Wright does have multiple ways in and out of his property as it is today. When we removed Country Club from the Brown property where it doesn't connect with Count Massey anymore, that's when we really, Dr. Hart started looking at all of these vehicles are going to be coming through my subdivision, and that's when the thought was that we didn't want to have that situation. So I think that's probably all I need to say.
Thank you. Any questions of Commission for staff or the applicant?
Staff is recommending for contingent approval of the preliminary plat.
I make a recommendation for contingent approval of the preliminary plat for Natural Trail Estates, pending any other staff comments.
Second.
Commissioners.
Have a motion and a second for the preliminary plat of Natural Trail Estates. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed say no. Okay, preliminary plat passes. The revised preliminary development plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff is recommending for a do pass recommendation of the Maumelle City Council.
Okay. Ladies, just so you know, the development plan moves on to the city council. They have the final say. And you have an opportunity to speak at that meeting also if you wish. And that will be
February the 6th.
February the 6th. And that's it, the same room. It's a different time, though. It's 6 p.m. Okay. Any questions with staff or the applicant for the development plan? And again, we do make a recommendation. I'll entertain a motion.
Do pass recommendation for the revised preliminary plat for the Natural Trail Estates.
Second.
I have a motion and a second as a do pass recommendation for the development plan. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed say no. Okay, at this time, I'd like to close public hearing. Next item on the agenda is the liaison report, and that concludes pretty much our planning commission business. If you ladies and gentlemen want to leave, you can stay if you wish.
Mr. Commissioner, I'm going to.
Okay. Okay, so for February, Roy's got both meetings, right?
Yep.
No. I heard yes. All in favor?
I had the January 3rd meeting. There were several items on the planning commission scope. We had ordinance third reading of 909, streets and drainage for Mr. Wright's 24 phase, Country Club of Arkansas. It passed. Streets and drainage dedication for the chalet of Country Club. That's the little subdivision that's down on the left before you get to the dead end of Country Club Parkway that's under development now. third reading of ordinance 921, streets and dedication for gardens at Bridgeview Trails. That's up on the ridge here. The first reading of, wait a minute, that would it. In new business, it was a resolution, 2017-01, approval of a preliminary development plan for Central Arkansas Library System. And that was all we had that meeting concerning Planning Commission. And I believe Commissioner Johnson.
For the 17th, had second reading amending the sign regulations, of which I read through, found to be most interesting. But it says can't contain things that are prohibited, can't contain or consist of banners, posters, pennants, ribbons, streamers, strings of light bulbs, spinners, or other similar moving devices or signs which may move or swing as a result of wind pressure. These devices, when not part of any sign, are similarly prohibited unless they are permitted specifically by other legislation. So I would take it that code enforcement is going to have some good times enforcing that. But I understand there's further revisions forthcoming for the third reading.
Always.
Our counselor has advised me of that, so I kind of poked at that a little bit, thinking that it's pretty rough. But maybe it's not. Maybe I'm overthinking it. The other, I got to take, I had to really think about, am I violating the ordinance? I don't think you can put a swing in your front
I'd
yard.
recommend you check and see if you're currently violating the ordinance.
Take the swing out of your front yard, no swings for kids, and no more
kids.
No more Christmas lights. I'm not for sure. And then the other business associated with us is the sell the real property, which had to do before this piece of property, which didn't really come up as a case of business, but there was a little parcel sale. Those in subcommittee, I think, were aware of that little corner down there to get the entrance lined out.
Yep.
So I don't think Tom's gone, but
No, he's not.
Yeah, Jim, did we ever? And I was going to ask this, but it really doesn't. It wasn't pertinent to the. I don't think here. I don't ever recall forcing anybody to.
No.
Okay, I've never done it. I don't think that we ever had a plat. Now we've had taken developers or volunteers.
I had this conversation with Chairman Todd not long ago, and this was, my goodness, 11, 12 years ago. Jay DeHaven. One of the staff comments was show 2 access points west. Mr. DeHaven was less than forthcoming about doing that. The staff comment stood at the meeting. Now, it's up to you as a commission to say, yeah, we're going to go along with that. No, we're not. That particular commission went along with it. But forcing somebody, no, ever.
I don't ever recall forcing Mr. Wright to do any of that.
Never.
I was just
That I recall, ever.
not that I'm qualified to make that recommendation.
Well, and I would also say this, there are so many gray areas in development, especially with so many lots. How do you know your financing is going to come through? How do you know in PRD that you're not going to construct multifamily, which you certainly can?
You swap collector through there, you change the whole dynamic.
And then you have a lot of multifamily residents coming in through a nice big lot, single-family detached subdivision. So I'm not saying any of those things can happen, but it is never a crime to mislead the Planning Commission, which has been done on more than one occasion. Highland Point Apartments being the ones that always come to my mind. So,
Okay, with that being said, liaisons for February. February the 6th, which, by the way, will either be my first day of the next 4 years
Oh, I
or
forgot
my
to say, there's a
last day.
planning commission vacancy that was announced.
There is
Doesn't
that.
have a liaison, I
Yes.
forgot.
And
Do you have
then,
your application in, John?
I do.
the February meeting will also begin with the election of new officers, which that's an office you've never held, Commissioner Johnson.
That's right, very good.
And February 21st was Commissioner Andrews. I hope he looked at the bottom of it. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, and a second to adjourn. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say yes. Yes.
Yep.
We are adjourned.
I've seen him on the bond task force though, and so I think he's quite capable. More than capable.
Hey,
You got some provisions to do stringing lights and whirly birds in front yards and.
Have you
things of
seen
that
our current
nature.
code? The current thing is infinitely more, gives infinitely more leeway than